So Comica are breaking waves. We're going to be talking about this one right here. This is the Boomax, but also we're going to be talking about a microphone that's mounted outside my frame. So I don't actually have a microphone in front of me. And this is what's going to be happening going forward. I'm going to be using the VM40 by Comica. This is a 32-bit float internal recording, but then it can transmit directly to my A7 IV. So I have audio directly inside my camera. But let's get deep into some of the specs of this, and then we'll also talk about the VM40. Now the Boomax is a wireless microphone that also has 32-bit float internal recording. It comes in a nice charging case with a battery capacity of 2800 milliamp hours. It's powered through USB-C. It comes with a dead cat, and you can store it in this nice travel case. Now currently you can get the Boomax for $189 US, or if you do have an Amazon discount, you can get it for around about $160 US. So the VM40 is a super cardioid dual channel wireless shotgun microphone by Comica. It has 32-bit float internal recording, so 32 gigabytes of inbuilt storage with up to 40 hours of recording. It comes with a microphone mount and a shock mount. It comes with a wind muff and a dead cat. There's a TRS cord and a TRRS cord, a USB-C cord, a few microphone mount adapters, all in a nice storage case. And you can get the VM40 for about $249 US, or the combo for $399 US. So now one of the major things about the whole ecosystem and the Comica audio, with this device and the VM40 is that you can utilize it directly through your app. And this is how you can monitor the device, but you can also change a whole bunch of the settings through this as well. So let's say, for instance, you're too far away from the camera and you just want to adjust the gain input. You want to do noise cancellation. You can do that directly through the app itself, rather than changing it directly on the transmitter itself. So this transmitter is the one that goes with the Boomax, and the other transmitter is directly on my A7 IV right now. But if you are using the transmitter on the Boomax, you do actually have full touch functionality, and the touchscreen, perfectly fine. I have absolutely no issues with that. You can utilize this sort of jog wheel on the front as well, and then you have that on off button on the side, which you can tap to go backwards. So that is kind of cool to have. So now obviously the benefit of these kind of wireless transmitters is that you can wear it, you can turn away from your camera, and you'll still have audio recording, obviously, in post-production, because this one does internal recording with 32-bit float, but it also can transmit to the A7 IV. At the moment, I've just got the 32-bit float recording right now. One of the great things about obviously the travel options is that you have this travel case right here, but then you've also got the hard case. Now this hard case does fit within this nice travel case, and then you have options where you can place all your other devices like the windsock. You've got all your cords and stuff, and just a couple of other different pockets here as well, which closes up and fits in your bag relatively nice. It really just depends on what you prefer and how much space you've actually got in your pack, but it is nice that they've actually included that within the pack. Now, one of the biggest differences about the charging device right here is that the DJI is actually 1800 milliamp hours, whereas this is 2800 milliamp hours. So it does have a little bit more juice. It is slightly bigger than the DJI case, but having more power is definitely, a good option to have. Now, one minor caveat with these magnetic clips right here is that you can't actually put this directly into the case and close it. You actually have to take the magnetic clips off for it to fit directly in there. So you definitely do have to take that into consideration. So now this is recorded directly into the Sony A7 IV, and we don't have noise cancelling on. I've got the fan on here, and I've actually got a fish tank over there, and seeing what the noise cancelling is going to be like in the two different levels that they actually supply in the Boomax. Now this is noise cancellation on level 1. Now I'm in the exact same position. We've got the fan there, we've got the fish tank over that side. So what does it sound like with the noise cancellation on level 1? Let's go to level 2. Now lastly, this is noise cancellation on level 2, or high is what they call it in the Boomax. Now the fan is still on, we've got the fish tank over there. What is this sounding like when it comes to the noise cancellation? Now, we're going to be putting this into a different situation as well, something quite practical that I think would hopefully work quite well. Okay, so this is one of the situations that I wanted to put these Boomax microphones in. One of them has noise cancellation on and on high, and one of them actually has it turned off. Now I've got the VM40, which is just out of frame, so you guys can hear what the cabin is actually sounding like when we're in this driving situation. Now you do have that ability to do noise cancelling in post-production, so you do have to remember that, but just think that this is done inside the device itself, and don't know how to do noise cancelling, I mean, that is a pro. But we'll put all the windows down and you can hear what it sounds like through the VM40, what the cabin sounds like. It is super noisy. There's so much wind coming from outside. And then I've got the noise cancelling, which obviously sounds really good in this situation. Well, at least usable. You know, you can actually hear me. But obviously when I do slow down, you know, the noise obviously gets softer. But if I start going faster, then, you know, this is where it's going to be probably just a touch too loud. You have to use that noise cancelled option. Now, no noise cancellation. Okay, sounds potentially usable. Depends on what you classify as usable. But, you know, still a fantastic situation to use the noise cancelling in this kind of situation. So well done Comica for having some pretty decent noise cancelling inside the device itself. Now also I do have to mention that the Boomax has the ability to record a safety track as well. So you have stereo, you have mono, or you can do the safety. And essentially that just records two different levels. So essentially if you clip one level, then you have the lower level that you can take, or you just record that 32-bit float internal at the same time. Now one feature that is really interesting is that you have the ability to change the polar pattern on this. So you can actually go a little bit more directional or omnidirectional. So it actually has two major directions where you can actually pick up the audio. But in all honesty, omnidirectional sounds so much fuller than the directional pattern. When it comes to the polar pattern, one of these does cardioid and one of these does omnidirectional. Now you can hear the difference between that omnidirectional and the cardioid. The cardioid just, it doesn't have that fullness as the omnidirectional does, but it really depends on obviously the person that you're utilizing that's talking directly into these, and you should be adjusting all the audios in post-production anyway, but this is pretty much what both of these sound like. So that's pretty much the Boomax wireless microphone. It's a fantastic one. It really depends on what you utilize, but it's a great microphone with 32-bit float internal. Let's talk about the VM40. So one of the special things about the VM40 is that I can actually mount this outside my frame and then have really nice audio quality, you know, going directly into my camera. And you don't have a microphone directly in front of me that's going to be blocking any sort of view. So if I do want to pick up something and show you guys, I don't actually have to, you know, swing it around a microphone and work around this space. I can pretty much be a little bit more free in where I'm standing as well. So I don't have to stand in a very particular spot because of the length of my XLR cord. I can just move this into a completely different spot, literally up to 200 meters away. Even though that's crazy, I wouldn't utilize this, you know, 200 meters away from my camera anyway. Maybe if I'm doing an interview thing like this, I might be 10, 20 meters away from the camera. That's perfectly fine, and I'm still gonna get nice, strong signal through this. But the great thing about the VM40 is that you have 32-bit float internal recording. Now that is absolutely massive. If you do lose signal, you can bring that back directly with this internal recording. Now, if you don't know what 32-bit float recording, it's perfectly fine. The biggest thing you need to know is that it is extremely hard to clip your audio device. So if you are yelling directly into this, you're going to be able to bring the levels back down to normal. This is extremely useful if you set your audio levels correctly to someone talking, and let's say, for instance, they end up laughing or they just start talking louder. And then sometimes it will actually clip and it will sound absolutely horrible. Similar thing if you set the audio and then they start talking a little bit quieter, you can bring that up in post without having too much of that noise floor. And if you do want to transfer the files directly off this microphone, all you need to do is hold the safety and record button at the same time for maybe 2 to 3 seconds, and it will come up with a sign saying copy mode. Then all you got to do is plug it directly into USB-C, and you can drag and drop those files directly off this. And that's, like I said, 32-bit float internal into this. Now look, if you don't want to utilize 32-bit float internal, you'll still have 24 bits going directly into your camera. And you do actually have this gain dial on the end as well, which goes from 1 to 10. But generally what happens is that you'll have a gain dial directly into your camera, which is your camera's internal inputs. So it really depends on the strength and how good quality the camera inputs are to which one you're going to be using. But generally, I'll try and boost the microphone signal up as high as possible, generally, and then bring it down in my camera. So I'm not utilizing the internal gain in the camera, I'm using the internal gain directly in my microphone. But you need to find that happy medium when it comes to the camera you're using, when it comes to the audio device going directly into the camera. Definitely do some tests beforehand so you can actually hear for yourself which one sounds better in terms of the noise floor. Now, in terms of the features, it's pretty basic, but you do have a USB-C in, which you can obviously power the device, but you can also obviously transfer the files in that as well. Now, you do have a 3.5mm jack out, so you can utilize this as just a regular shotgun microphone and put the 3.5 directly into your camera. So you don't actually have to use this wirelessly if you don't want to, you just have that ability to do so. Now, it does come with this microphone socket as well, but it also does come with the dead cat. So if you do end up utilizing it outdoors, definitely recommend utilize that dead cat because that'll cut a lot of that wind noise that will come directly into this. But if you're just having this directly on your camera, this is pretty much perfectly fine. But in my studio, I actually utilize it just like this because you have higher quality audio going directly in this. You don't actually have this sort of muffling the sounds. It's just directly going into that microphone without any sort of barrier in between yourself and the microphone capsules. But obviously you just got to be careful of how close you're going to be putting this and you're not breathing directly into this because you'll get those breathing sounds, you get the popping sounds, and you definitely don't want this. This is more like that pop filter that you can put directly in front of this and it will kind of just muffle those sounds and make it sound a little bit better. Now the great thing as well is that they do include this shock mount, and the good thing about this shock mount is that you can move it forward and back. So just so you can try and get the correct balance of that microphone. Now, in terms of fitting this directly onto the shock mount, it is extremely tight. So obviously be careful because you don't want to be breaking the plastic, but I mean, it's perfectly fine. It seems strong enough to not actually break the plastic, but yeah, it is very, very solid once it's in there and it definitely will not slide off. Now, one interesting thing that it does come with is a TRRS adapter. So if you want to connect this directly to your smartphone device, you can. So you just got to plug this directly into the microphone, and then this one will go directly into your smartphone. But that is if you have, let's say, an Android device, because generally they have the microphone mounts directly in there. The new iPhones have USB-C. So this is where you utilize the included USB-C to USB-C cord, and this will be able to connect it directly to your iPhone. Now, another great feature with these microphones is that if you do a lot of Zoom calls, you definitely can connect this directly to your PC. So it does obviously include, your Type A to USB-C port. So look, overall, both of these microphones are absolutely incredible. The VM40 is the one that's literally going to stay in this exact position the whole time. It's going to be my new studio microphone. But if I am doing some narrative stuff, short films, even interviews, I can boom something directly over the top without having a lav mic in shot. But if I am doing a whole bunch of run and gun stuff, if I'm doing, pieces to camera, this one is a really good option to have as well. So anyway, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. I will put a link in the description below for the Boomax and the VM40. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, let's get it.